everyone, to another exciting episode of LPA Presents. I'm your host, Matthew D. Rhodes, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by the incredibly talented actress, screenwriter, and producer, Yvette Dudley-Neuman. Yvette, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Well, we have a series of questions lined up to dive into your multifaceted career. Are you ready to get the ball rolling?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Can you walk us through a typical day in your life juggling the roles of actor, screenwriter, and producer?
Sure. It can vary obviously because I'm doing several different things. So, what I've tried to do for myself is to set up a creative work schedule, which has some flexibility in it. So, I try most days to do morning pages via The Artist's Way. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that book, but I like to do the morning pages just to clear out my brain. And then I get in a coffee and a breakfast time. And then I have a setup where I have what I call either creative writing time or audition prep time, unless I'm working on a project, in which case that becomes production prep
Mm,
time, and then a time for lunch, and then the same kind of block in the evening. Now, that can all go out the window if a big audition comes in from my agent. If it's a small audition and it's just a couple of pages, then I'll just get those off book and then get my reader and start, putting it on self tape because everything is self tape now. But if it's a bigger one, it might be a couple of days of prep. So then there's no writing. And if I was in production, that could be an issue. But, you just try to make it work and balance it as best you can. I think the most important is to because I think people think when you're a freelancer or you're creative or whatever, that you don't need a schedule. But in my world, I need a schedule because otherwise, days kind of flit away on you and you're not getting the things done that you need to get done. And then I'm a copious list maker. So for projects and things like that, it's like, what's next on the list? What's next on the list? Or writing, saying, what's the next sort of benchmark I want to get to, or, where am I? And that keeps me going.
and see, scheduling goes beyond just what you're doing. Sure, as a writer myself, I have a schedule, but for someone like me, I actually have to be on a schedule regardless of what it is.
Yes, it makes sense, right? I know
Yeah,
we think people like to think, oh, well, when I meet people, they're like, oh, must be nice to have all that free time. And it's like, it is free time, but I'm actually scheduling my time so I can get the things done that I want to get done rather than doing, a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 kind of job where you have to do what your boss says. You kind of have to be your own boss or you won't get anywhere.
right. And I was telling you before, I only do about 3,000 words a night. In actuality, I do that in about 3 hours on stream, so people can actually see me working.
That's really interesting. I've never thought of writing on stream. I'm a very private person, so I don't know if I'd want people to watch me do the process. But I know other people do that with voiceover too. They go on like Clubhouse or whatever, and they
Mm.
voice a book. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. I kind of just like get in my own little place and do my work.
See, I like people to ask questions because if I can't answer a question, I have to rethink where I'm going with my project.
So when you're writing online, are they actually seeing your screen and
Yes,
you, or just your screen?
me and my screen.
Interesting. So then they can think about it. And I'll have to join in one night and see. Although
And
I'm usually in bed at that time.
I actually start about this time and
Oh,
go till about 8 o'clock my
because
time.
we're in different time zones.
Right.
Yes, right. Okay, so I could watch.
And since I'm a Twitch affiliate, the more people that watch me, the more money I get paid at the end of the month.
Interesting. So there's something else for me to think about. I could get paid for doing my writing while I'm writing.
Hmm.
I like it.
And being able to answer feedback and stuff like that, people asking questions about what you're doing, it's a lot of fun.
And it probably also really expands, where you're going with your project, or it makes you go, oh no, I really don't want to go that way. I still want to keep going in this other way.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
How do you decide which projects to take on and what criteria do you use to evaluate them?
Well, I am mostly a self-made project person, so I don't take a lot of other people's projects
Mm,
unless it's acting. And then, well, honestly, with acting, it's like it pays a lot of money. So usually I just do it because it's fun. Unless it's something that's really against my principles, I'll probably almost do anything
right.
regarding acting, right? But then the rest of the projects, I actually started writing and producing and things like that because I was tired of waiting for projects that I wanted to do, you
Hmm.
know. sometimes for women, there are smaller roles. There was a lot of studies done, I'm sure you're probably aware of, where they looked at how many men and how many women, and it actually started with theater, and now they've done that for film through the Gina Davis Institute and other places. And there's a lot less projects and good parts for women. So I started that way. And I started writing short films for myself. And right now I'm writing a feature film. And as much as I would love to play the lead in the feature film, we have 2 women. I'm co-writing this. I don't usually co-write either, but this is something new. So as much as I would love to play the lead in those, we realized that for funding and for money wise, we probably need to have big names in the lead roles. But smartly, we've written 2 smaller roles for ourselves into the film. So when we do the negotiating for the budgeting and the funding, and with the bigger producers, executive producers, we will negotiate so that we can play those roles. So that's kind of how I pick. As far as like, how do I pick the subject matter? I'm a watcher or a noticer. Some people can go through their day or their life and they don't notice much. I mean, a lot of people actually. And for me, it can be something as simple. I'll give you an example from my short film, Edna Brown. I was just sitting in my car and I looked over. I was down on Hastings Street in Vancouver, and it's an area of town where there are a lot of homeless people, a lot of people who have drug use issues. And there was a woman standing there with her cart, and it had a lot of stuff in it. And I just looked over and I thought, how did you get there? Like, what's your story? And it's not like some huge revolutionary thought or anything, but for me, it sparked that idea of, how, if that was me, what would be in my cart? How would I look? Where would I be living? How did I get there? And that then blossomed into a short film. Similarly, I have another film, which is right now, it's a short film also touring the festival circuit. It's called Laundry Day. And it came from me. I lived in an older house, and it had one of those, the kind of laundry lines that you pull. And I was sitting out in the backyard, and I had put my laundry up, and I thought, how they say if walls could talk? I thought, if that laundry line could talk, what would it tell me? And so Laundry Line is actually the story of a woman's life told only through her laundry. It has no dialogue. It has a full original score that my friend wrote. And you see the years pass as the laundry changes. So, 1930s, 1940s, 50s, up until the 80s when she passes away. And you see her life in the clothing. So, first it's just her and her husband, then children's clothing, and then the clothing getting bigger, and ball uniforms, and then, terrible outfits for seniors that they go walking in, that and Hawaiian, garb that they've gone on a vacation. But, that just sparked from a little thought of, somebody lived in this house before me for 30 years. What would that laundry line say to me? That's how I pick.
The creative process is an amazing process. I gotta wonder, do you ever have ideas just come to you in the middle of the night and they won't let you sleep?
Yes, and I have to get up and write them down. I keep a notebook beside the bed now, so I don't have to go too far. I'm also a believer of that those ideas are up in the ether, and you have to kind of grab them. I heard this from someone once, grab them by the kite tail. And if you don't grab them by the kite tail and write them down, they just keep going and they go to someone else. Because when you wake up in the morning, you're like, what was that I dreamed about? Like, you have to write it right then. And sometimes I've had to get up, like songs and things, like I'll just write the entire song right there.
Yeah.
Or story, or, whatever it is.
I'm always close to my computer. When I can't sleep, I got to go to my computer and just start typing everything down because I can't even read my own handwriting.
Oh, I wish I was better at typing. I'm not the best typist. So I write, and I'm actually a believer in the way the creativity flows through your brain to your hand. So I'm always, but there have been times when I'm like, what does that say? What did I write?
My typing, if I don't switch keyboards, will keep my roommate up at night.
Is it a clickety-click kind of one?
Yes. Well, I try to keep 2 keyboards, one for gaming, one for writing, because my writing one does not allow me to game on it with button combinations, but it's also a lot quieter.
Oh, yes. My husband will sleep through anything, so no worries.
I've slept through an earthquake.
Oh, my goodness. For me, it's the dog. She gives me the one-eyed scowl. She's like, why is the light on? What are you doing? But my husband, he just keeps snoring.
Can you share a memorable experience from each of your roles, acting, screenwriting, and producing?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's start with, since we were just talking about Laundry Day. So we shot this film. It not only goes through a woman's life, but it also goes through the 4 seasons of time. So, spring, summer, fall. So we actually started our shoot in winter. And of course, we were gung ho to get going, and we got the laundry wet, and we went outside and we put it on the line, and it was a bit of a windy day. And I don't have a lot of experience with doing laundry in the winter, but it like froze in these like concave shells. And we were like, that doesn't look like laundry hanging on the line. So then we had to actually take the laundry in and dry it and then rehang it kind of damp, but not too wet, because otherwise it was literally frozen stiff. Then I got on the computer that day, because that was a thing I hadn't thought of as the producer. And I Googled like frozen laundry. And apparently, if you leave the laundry, people would put the laundry out in winter, leave it to be frozen, and eventually it kind of like blows around enough that it unfreezes itself and it does dry.
Mhm.
Which I was like, oh my God, that is way too much work.
I,
So that was like
I,
a very funny surprise.
well, I think it's funny though. Sure, we're of the age that we know about clotheslines and what they're used for, but how many people nowadays know what a clothesline actually is?
Well, that's a funny and a good question, because actually about 80% of the world still does laundry by hand. This
Really?
was something I learned in my research. Like, it's really North America and Europe where people have the conveniences of throw it in the machine and just walk and go. I mean, maybe it's changing a bit, because I wrote that movie. Oh, I guess I wrote it originally in about 2004, and then it morphed and morphed. But so maybe, more people now, let's say 60%, there's still a lot of people washing by hand and
Yeah.
hanging it on a line or a tree or whatever they have in their place.
I
We are fortunate.
well, I know right now, because our laundromat dryers broke, we still have to hang our clothes out to dry.
Yes. I actually like the smell of laundry when it's hung outside too, like especially sheets. They smell different. It's good.
Hmm.
It's better than some of the, smelly things you put in your wash to make them smell good. So that's the producing example, I guess. Acting wise, when I was doing my short film Edna Brown, I played the homeless woman that we were talking about, and we were shooting at a bookstore. So in my case, she had a cart full of books, because that's actually what I would want in my cart. And I have been a teacher in my life. So I set up the scenario where she was a teacher who lost her job and became homeless.
Mm.
And so thus she had kept the most precious thing to her, which was her books. And I was waiting. So we were at the bookstore. They were setting up the shot. And the director told me, go down and you're going to come down the street with your cart, yada, yada. So I was standing there and I was just hanging out. And this woman came and actually put money in my hand. And I said, thank you. Like, she didn't know I wasn't homeless. I looked homeless. I have makeup and hair and, I have my shopping cart. And I was like, so when I got down to the director after we do, it was like action. And I go and I do the shot. And I say to the director, I made some money today. I just didn't have the heart to say to the woman, I'm acting right now.
It would have it would have been funny if there had been a camera on that and just caught that as a scene. Kind of like,
Yes.
do you remember the old commercial of Tiger Woods taking the golf ball and bouncing it up on his thing before swinging?
Oh, I have a vague memory. And
So
somebody caught it. They caught it,
yes,
obviously. Yeah.
yes, and then they used it in the commercial. Yeah, it's always the surprises that if you can get on camera are the best.
That's funny. I do have a picture of me holding, the money after, but it wasn't the exact moment. But yeah, it was quite a moment. And then writing. This is kind of an interesting thing, because I had been doing short films and been writing a lot of things. And then I wrote a solo show for myself to tour theatrically. So a theater show, and it's called The F Words. More than one, not just the one you think of, but lots of them. And yes, that word is definitely featured. And I was part of this writing group. It was a group of women, and we would have one week we would read other people's things, and then the opposite week someone would read ours so we could listen. And I had shared quite a bit of writing in my life before that, but it got to be my turn and I burst into tears. like a big bawling baby, a big mess. And I was like inside, like, what is going on? Why am I bawling like this? And I realized the F words, because it was based on my own life as a, fat, 40, forgotten woman, which is what I felt like, that it was so close to me and so personal that I was actually terrified, fearful, actually,
Mhm.
of being judged. And here suddenly I was just like laying out my soul on the table. And I think everything that you write has your soul in it,
Yeah,
but some things a little more than others.
right.
And there were some very personal things in this writing that I was like, oh my God, it's going to be like, now it's people are going to see me, like really see me. And I needed to actually leave the room for a moment, get myself composed. Somebody else took a turn, and then it was my turn. And once I got through that first day, it was okay. But I don't know, I guess other people probably have similar experiences. That and songwriting for me are both in that same vein of they cause me a lot of anxiety when I'm going to share them.
Yeah, I can understand that one as a writer. You write all these wonderful things, and then there's always that one person out there that when you show them, just completely dumps on it.
Yes. In fact, I was working with a young lady who's a creative coach, and we were talking, because I've written a lot of songs. Some songs are in my plays, and those are different. And then there are other songs like the F words, which are more personal to me, that really mean something to me. And those I've only shared with my family, my husband, and a few close and choice friends. And I'm very particular about that. And I've started going to this open mic where I live now, and, wanted to sing. I've done one, but not the next one.
Hmm.
But it was the same feeling. And we were, she was asking question after question to kind of get down to the bottom of why I didn't want to go to the open mic and share these. And finally I just burst out and said, I don't want someone to shit all over them because they're mine.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You could get all the greatest compliments in the world, but the second you get one, you hang on to that one for some reason.
Isn't that it? Like, yes, you can get all compliments, or you can get great reviews for a show, or, lots of people telling you I enjoyed this or I enjoyed or that touched me, and one bad one. And that's when you go home and you're like stewing on, I'm really working on that, not stewing.
My first novel, after I published it, one person made a comment. It's like, did you even read the book? He said, now mind you, this is told from the eyes of lions. He said that the entire book was nothing but the entire Lion King saga retold, which is
Oh,
funny
wow.
because whenever I put my screenplay of it in competitions, they equate it to Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
Yeah, so apparently he hadn't read it, but everyone saw that comment.
Yeah. And I have come to the final sort of resting place of, and I know it's a pat answer, but you can't please everyone.
Right.
And I'm adding to that, nor should you,
That's a good point.
right? I'm never going to please everybody. And I actually don't care if I do anymore, because, it's kind of like, do you want chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla? Well, if nobody takes vanilla every time and I'm vanilla, should I feel bad? That's a weird kind of, but you know what I mean, right? It's
Yeah,
like somebody eventually will like vanilla.
right.
And that's who I'm for then, I guess, right?
Well, here's the thing. It's like, as I was saying, the screenplay I've been putting in competitions. Sure, it's been compared to Game of Thrones, but it's also something that you wouldn't expect because one, it is told from the eyes of animals, and that's not something people are interested in turning into a TV series or a movie because it's so niche.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the people who have read my work have been absolutely gushing over it.
Yeah. I actually have an acting teacher who used to say, other people's opinions of me are none of my business. That helps too, right? Because
Yeah,
whether it's good or bad, it's like your job, I believe my job as a creator is just to create things and
right.
put them out in the world. And if someone enjoys them or likes them, great. And if someone doesn't like it, but they at least thought about it, or they had some other thoughts, that's also okay. You don't have to love it. You can think about it.
True. I mean, but here's
I'm kind
another
of a
thing.
controversial writer. I sort of write things that are sometimes a bit edgy, and
Yeah.
they grate on people. On purpose, I write that way.
But still, there's one thing that people need to remember. Even Stephen King got like 50 rejections before he was picked up by someone. You know,
Yes,
you will always receive rejections, and eventually you will find the one person who's willing to say, let's do this.
exactly. That's true.
What challenges do you encounter when transitioning between acting, writing, and producing, and how do you overcome them?
There's never enough time, especially if have written something and I'm acting in it and I produced it. I'm
Mhm.
producing or on the producing team. I try not to just be the only producer anymore.
Yeah.
There's never enough time. And so sometimes it can be overwhelming, and also it can be, yeah, not so healthy mentally. So what I've tried, from learning from past mistakes, what I try to do now is I'm writing, and then once the script is locked, that's done.
Mhm.
And there's no rewriting at that point, unless something's really, we do it on the fly on the day.
Right.
And then if I'm producing, I try to get all that producing work done as much as I can, so that on the day, if I'm acting on a day or in every day of a shoot, I'm just doing that. And actually, it's the same on other people's projects, right? Like when I show up to set, I do bring writing with me because, on a professional set of a, TV show or whatever, you could be there for hours and hours and you really only work a couple of hours and you're waiting. So I always, I try to double down on my time and get something done, but I try to just be present where I'm present. So for example, when I'm on a set like that and they come and get me and it's like, okay, time to go to set, I don't take the writing with me then. It stays in the trailer and
Right.
I'm just present on set. But I try to compartmentalize. And I think that goes back to our original thing about the scheduling, right?
Mhm.
And being as organized as possible really helps. And also asking for help when you get down to the crunch of it, it's like, I've got a producing assistant. Okay, you're on for today. You're handling it. And then you have to trust that. I'm a little
Mhm.
bit of a control freak, I admit it. But if you get good people around you that you can trust and people that
Right.
you love and respect, you can let go of that and just be like, okay, today I'm just acting. And when someone comes, oh, this is Jen's handling it or Lisa's handling that, go talk to her. I'm not doing that today. And that's hard because you could just fix it probably in a second, but
Right.
you
But
got to let people.
being able to hear a lot of what you're going through, despite what I'm trying to do being completely different in the animation industry, it still has an effect on what I feel I need to do.
hmm Well, that actually, that is actually my dream job, is to be on an animated series.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm on a podcast series right now, which is called Supermarket. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like a sitcom show.
Hmm.
And I'm the only actor out in Vancouver area. Everybody else recorded in Toronto. And luckily, Adam loved me. And my oy vey, I'm a Jewish mom on the show. So, anyways, so they I record from my home studio and they direct me over Zoom and then they patch me into the show, and they've done really well. It's hit #1 a couple of times on Apple and whatnot, and so we're hoping the second season.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
mean,
but animated series, oh, that would be, yeah,
most of
that's
the
what I want.
most of the characters in my TV series that I want to make are all female.
Lovely.
I mean, when told from the eyes of lions, how many male lions are you going to have within a pride?
Right, true, but also great for women because we're always looking for roles. You'll have lots of people to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, even the latest movie that I wrote, The Customer is Always Right. You'll have both women as antagonist and protagonist.
Yes, I love that.
I should share that with you sometime. It's hard at being a male and trying to write female characters.
Yes, but well, you have your own view of what you know in the world, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes, but it would be good to have some female beta readers so that they can say, that doesn't really, or
Right.
that's really good, or, whichever. Hmm
And I took a lot of liberties from a certain Reddit when trying to do this movie. It's a bit of a parody comedy or dark comedy parody satire.
Love it.
I can't say the name of the Reddit post because it is explicitive.
Yes, of course. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, when you feel free, share it, send it along.
Sure. How do you balance the creative aspects of acting and screenwriting with the logistical aspects of producing?
Mm. Time management for sure. And like I've already said, putting good people around you. So, getting a good line producer is really important. If people who are listening don't know what a line producer is, they do the budgeting. In the initial parts of life, I had to do all that budgeting and stuff myself. It's not easy. And a
No.
line producer is, if that's their only job, they're kind of doing it day by day. So they're keeping you abreast of, especially if you get a bit of a bigger production, you might not be the only one spending. So it's hard to control the costumes and the props and the, oh, we need more tape, or if you're on tape or digital, we need batteries, and all these things cost, right? So, and then locations and things like that. So that's for sure one. Yeah, and just like I said, compartmentalizing. I think that's my key. Yeah, that's all I have really.
Have you ever had to write a pitch Bible?
I haven't done a pitch Bible, but I have done, because pitch Bibles are more for television shows,
Right.
but I have done a pitch package for films, and I'm writing a feature now. So we've actually, my writing partner and I were really lucky. We got some passes to what here is called the Whistler Film Festival, where there were producers. And when we actually, our very first pitch of the festival was to Paramount Plus, nothing like Baptism by Fire, but he was lovely and he loved our pitch. He didn't feel like our movie was for him, but
Right.
he did say that he thought it was for a couple other people at the festival, and he said, you can go and contact them and tell them I sent you, which was pretty great. Yeah, so the pitch, we did a couple of things. So we actually wrote out our spoken pitch, even
Mhm.
though we wouldn't speak it exactly like that, but we planned it and we could see it on our iPads as we, worked through it. And we also did a one sheet. And then we haven't done a breakdown or a character Bible, because usually they just buy the film and then, they do that kind of stuff for you.
Are those usually one-on-one, or are you're in front of an entire group?
It can be both. So at the Whistler Film Festival, they have a couple of things. The meetings that we did were one-on-ones.
Mhm.
And then they also have a competition that you can put your one sheet and your ideas and whatnot together, and you submit to this competition. And if you get chosen, you actually do a pitch in front of a live audience and with the panel. It's, yeah, I can just see your anxiety. You just went right through the roof. You're like, whoa, wow, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. I actually watched a fella that I had done his film. His name is Jeremy, and he pitched at Whistler this year a new film, and I thought he did wonderfully. He didn't win in the end, but I thought he should have, and I think his concept was fantastic, and I really enjoyed working on his film. So, but I watched him do it, and I thought, wow, you got balls of steel, buddy. Good for you.
I've tried sending pitches into Stage 32,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the times I get a lot of good feedback. I had one person say, "There's no emotion in this. I'm not touching this."
Oh, what did you do with that?
I just stopped right after that. I just couldn't do it anymore because everyone else was like offering advice on how to make it better, and this guy's like, "No, I'm just not."
But that's just one guy.
True,
If
it
you're
is just
getting,
one guy.
if the feedback from the other people is helping, I say keep going.
Well,
Maybe he
there's
was
also
having a bad day, or maybe he's just not a very nice person.
I haven't been pitching to Stage 32 since then, partially because of that, but also because I'm on a fixed income. So
Hmm.
I don't always have the financing to actually put myself out there.
Yeah, I'm a little bit protective of my work, so I'm not like this one that we pitched at Whistler.
Mhm.
I mean, the people we were pitching to are, film executives and people of that we know for sure. I mean, they are on Stage 32 too, but other people can also listen. And I
Mhm.
don't really want this particular film. I don't want everybody hearing it before it's out there in the world for people to view.
Right.
It's a comedy, and it's got a lot of, yeah, I think it's got a lot of good story in it. And I don't want those ideas flying around the world yet.
Well, in cases like that, I make sure to get a copyright on everything
Mhm.
I've got. Because I don't want people taking my idea and running with it when I'm not protected.
Yes, we do have copyright on it. We copywrote our idea, not our idea, but our one sheet, and then we've since revised the ending. So we need to do a new for an in between Whistler, and that's when we've revised the ending. So we need to do a
Mhm.
new one for the the script. But even with that, it's kind of like how I feel about trailers. Like, I feel like movie trailers now show you all the good parts.
Yeah, they
And I
do.
don't want people to know all the good parts, because then why they want to see the movie?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, sometimes I watch the movie and I'm like, oh, I saw all of that in the trailer.
it's like that one Robin Williams film where he's running for president. You know, it showed all his comedic parts before watching the movie, and then once you're watching the movie, it's like that's all there was of his comedic parts.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, but yeah.
Can you discuss the collaborative process?
Yes, I can. Collaboration, wonderful and awful all at the same time, in my opinion. So I am at the point now in collaboration where I like to get a contract down, and that sounds sort of anti-intuitive, but
Mhm.
I did work on a couple of collaborative projects when I was younger. One, which was, I'm not going to name the project because I still want to do something else with it in the future, but we had a bit of an agreement in place. And what ended up happening was the project got quite big, and we were keynoting. It was a show for teachers, and we were keynoting festivals and things. And then one of the girls got really drunk and was crawling up a hallway, doing things, barking and other things.
Oh
And
no.
and I was livid in the morning when I heard back from the person who had hired us, and it was really embarrassing. And then kind of things fell apart, especially for me, because I was like, I really don't want to work with you anymore if you're going to be like that, when we were being paid really well. And so from those experiences, I've come to the point where, one, I only want to work with people that have vetted and I either know by reputation or have gotten to know through other projects.
Right.
Two, I like to, instance with my current writing partner, our agreement is, and I've known her for a long, long time, but we've never written together. But our agreement is, if we're working on a revision and we don't agree, we talk about it, we go away for 2 days, we come back, each person says their piece. And then if we still don't agree, we have the system of, it's your turn and then it's my turn to decide. That's what we came to as a conclusion of how we would decide when we had to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, and it probably doesn't work for everyone, but for us, it seems to work. The wonderful thing about collaboration is that you get all of these people who maybe have skills that you don't have, or bring this other energy, or, sometimes in that collaborative process of trying to solve something, you come to an even better idea. The hard part is, like, when you get to those things where you're really bumping heads and it's not going well, it can turn into a huge argument or a huge fight. And then that either kills a project or stalls a project, or people's feelings get hurt. I try to like get my feelings out of the way, but inevitably somebody's feelings get hurt. I've been called, at one point in my life, someone called me a bully, and I was like, but you're bullying me right now, so it was a little bit of both.
I've tried the collaborative route myself, and it didn't work out. First off, I was doing almost all the work. He was doing the editorial. And then he decided to say, you know what, I want to focus on my work, and just went off and did his own thing. But he helped me get the ball rolling on the project, which is now published in April. The 2 books I was telling you about.
Oh, yes. And how well did you know this person?
I've barely known him for a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I've worked with some people I didn't know very long, but I think, like, what I try to do with, because you can't always work with exactly the same people. What I try to do with new people is kind of bring them in slowly, like give them smaller amounts of things to do in a project. Now, it's a little bit different when you're working as a writer, or you're working in film. Like writing collaboratively, I have done quite a bit of my own writing on my own. And so sometimes people approach me and they say, I'd love to write something with you. And partly I know that's because they like what they saw. They saw the play that I did, or they've seen a short film, and they want to be part of that, which is great. Yeah. But I have had a couple of experiences where people have come and said, I have this idea, which, I know I don't have as much writing experience as you do. Would you write with me? And I've had a couple of times where I have done that. This one, particularly now that with the feature has gone very well, But the person that I'm writing with, and it's not telling any tales that are out of the closet. She's very open about it. She has ADHD, so sometimes it's like just kind of keeping her focused and
Right.
keeping moving forward. And she said to me, I've done a lot. I have a lot of projects, but I haven't finished
Yeah.
many of them. Some of them are, but not a lot. And I said, well, we're going to finish this one because I don't like to do projects and not finish them unless I hate them
Right.
and I don't want to do them anymore. But, it's my own thing if I'm like, oh, I don't like this idea. But another person that I worked with had a really great idea for this web series, and I loved it. And we went through and did quite a bit of writing. And, to sort of save myself, I said at the beginning, look, we're going to write these different episodes. We're going to brainstorm together, and then we'll write the episodes separately. And if this all, in the end doesn't happen for funding reasons, or, we just said, I would like to have the option in the contract to take back my writing, because some of those episodes could be short films in themselves.
Right.
And I don't know if you know Jackie and Joyce Robbins. They're a set of twins up here in Canada. They were on the series of Unfortunate Events, and
Yeah.
I'm quite good friends with them. And so a couple of the episodes that I wrote feature them because I would like to do a project with them.
Right.
So happily, not happily, the project fell apart. It fell apart, and that was too bad. Mostly because the other person didn't want to do a lot of the admin work, which when you're doing your own projects, as you well know, there's the creative side, but there's also like the administrative side of self-publishing a book, or
Right.
getting the funding or whatever it is. And she just didn't have the interest or the juice to do that. She was just, no, I don't want to. And what she really wanted was for me to do that part, and then she would just participate in just the fun parts. And finally I said, that's not working for me, so let's finish that. And we kind of, it's too bad because I really thought the idea had legs. Luckily, I can take those scripts and make a short film. I just have to figure out a different ending now.
Yeah.
And then I'm hoping to do that with the Robbins twins, and that'll be fun.
Working on a given project, I would love to be able to be in almost every part of it. Sure, I created it, but I would love to, maybe eventually learn directing, being able to work directly with other people. I want to know every aspect of how to do a film.
It's a lot. There's a lot to learn. I mean, on laundry day, it wasn't by choice. I had a person in line who was a wonderful props and costume person who, because that obviously, like, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of clothing needed to be sourced and either borrowed or purchased at, thrift stores, or made, constructed. And the wonderful person that I had got a very big gig on a very big TV show about a month and a half before we were supposed to shoot. So she had done the prep for the first shoot, and then for the rest of it, I had to take over. And I have done costumes for theater a long time ago, so luckily I had that skill. But I have to say, I learned a lot, not just about choosing the costumes, and the costumes were kind of easier because I know how to dress actors.
Mm-hmm.
But the set of props, there was a whole learning curve about working with the DOP and lighting and how it had to look, and how those shots were going to be set up, that as a producer you don't usually get to delve into that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing more of the finance and administrative and contracts and all that stuff. So that was a big learning curve. And there were some times, I have to say, where the DOP, I love her to bits. The DOP and I didn't see eye to eye, not because we didn't agree. It was because I didn't understand what she actually needed in terms of coloring and lighting. And so some things got messed up, and then I had to scramble to get a new something that would actually work for the lighting once the light was on the fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like mind-blowing.
I can tell you right now, there's one aspect I would not want to put myself through, and that's acting. The closest I'm going to get to acting is acting like I'm not scared out of my mind trying to do podcasts.
And that is like my jam. It's just like, if I could only be an actor all day long, or an animated voiceover actor all day long, I would just be in heaven.
I mean, I've told you before, I have social anxiety. That's one tip of the iceberg. But two, I'm trying to rise above just to be able to do the things that I do.
Of course, yes, I get it. Yes, so there's an extra little barrier in there for you, or maybe a big barrier in
I,
there for you.
I don't see it as a barrier. In a lot of these podcasts, I will, try and regather myself, but then once that record button is hit, it it's focus.
Nice. Well, it's because, see, you've been doing it enough that you're getting more and more adept at it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I
That
think that's
doesn't
like anything.
that doesn't stop me from having anxiety attacks.
Well, and the funny thing is, I don't really think of myself as an anxious person, but when I first started auditioning, even for theater and then really for film, I would feel like I would, because, film auditions, when we used to go into the room, they're very fast. You're
Hmm.
waiting in the waiting room. There's a lot of tension in the waiting room, other people's tension, your tension. And there's that competitive kind of feeling, which I really don't like, but you can't get away from because you all want the part.
Yeah.
And then you go in the room, and I would feel like the room was this huge fishbowl that just like swirled around me. And then I'd come out the other end and I'd be like, what just happened? It's terrible.
And I can share experiences of living in a fishbowl. How do you stay inspired and motivated when facing challenges in each of your roles?
Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I, hmm. There have been many times, I have to say, when I just wanted to quit. I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm done with this. And I have actually tried to kill my artist, which is not the same as killing yourself.
Right.
Let's just be clear. I have told my husband on various occasions, if I could wake up tomorrow and not want to do this, that would be the best thing ever. But it's like this. Yeah, I used to say, like, why do I need to do this? Like, why do I need to be an actor? What is it in me, like? And I tried to figure out, is it like I'm dying for approval, I'm dying for validation? Like, what am I looking for here? And I've come to the realization that it isn't any of those things. I used to think it might be,
Hmm.
but it actually is that I am just made that way. I am a creative being. I'm not going to be able to kill this. So I just might as well get out of my own way and get going. And that is actually my biggest motivation. Get out of your own way and just get going. And also just keep going, because you don't know what is the thing that will be the thing that it gets you to the next
Right.
thing. That's a lot of things. But you never know, right? And, what are you going to do? Stop acting? I tried. I was a miserable, horrible
Yeah.
shell of a person, grumpy all the time. Stop creating, stop writing. You know, that's like saying stop eating. Then you might as well die. You're not going
Yeah.
to.
Right.
So you might as well just say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is actually what I do. Some people, they do accounting. They love it. I can't even imagine that in my brain. Some people, they do woodwork. They love the smell of the wood. And my husband, he makes artisan pans. He's a lathe turner and all that stuff. Loves all that stuff. I'm like, no, it's too dirty and messy. Actually, what I love is words. As an
Yes.
actor or a writer, not so much as a producer, but I love, as a producer, I love the story. So I just love words, playing
Hmm.
with words, messing around with words, learning words, acting words, and then the words that create the story. That's what I live for.
See, when it comes to words, since about 2011, when I could actually keep track, I've only done about 8 million of them.
Wow, I can't even imagine keeping track. But I love learning new words. The biggest word in my F words show, because this character goes through, as a younger child, she gets stuck on making her vocabulary better, and she kind of gets stuck in the F words. And I was like, one day I was like, what's the biggest F word? And it was a gift because it informed the script. The biggest F word is floxenoxanihilipilification.
Wow.
And floxenoxanihilipilification means the habit of estimating something as worthless. And so I placed it in my show at a point where she feels worthless. And she sings the floxenoxanihilipilification song.
Wow.
What a gift that was. Just like, I just Googled, like, what's the biggest F word? And I was like, holy shit.
See,
Well, I probably used the F word, but I'm trying to be nice.
there's one thing I enjoy about writing, and that's being able to take my frustrations out on the characters.
Mm-hmm. Or through them.
Yes. Can you discuss the importance of networking and building relationships in the entertainment industry, particularly as a multifaceted professional?
Yes, it's everything, but it cannot be fake. So used to be that people, a lot of people would go to networking events and here's my card, take my card. That is not networking. If you think
No.
that's what networking is, you are sadly and sorely, I'm sorry to whoever's listening, doing it incorrectly.
Right.
Networking is sitting down and having a beer with someone, or offering to take someone for coffee, or taking them for lunch. Or you can go to one of those big things, but don't go with the idea of what you can get. Go with the idea of what you can give,
Hmm.
right? What you can offer someone. Because the problem is a lot of people think, I'm going to meet this person and they're going to change my life. That may be true, but they're only going to change your life if they actually like you
Right.
and you like them. So I have come round, a long time ago, around full circle to chillaxing about networking,
Hmm.
but also to following up with the people that I actually connected with
Yes.
and not being so like, here, have my information, but because they just throw that card away,
Right.
or they just throw that one sheet away. Unless they actually connected with you on a human level, it's not going anywhere. And sometimes you have to keep working on that connection. I connected with someone a couple of days ago who was kind enough. She's working on Upwork. She's a writer, and we have a long-standing relationship. We used to be what we call accountability buddies.
Hmm.
And and she's had some stuff go on in her family with her parents, and parents get older, and so we kind of have lost touch. And well, we reconnected, and then when we were talking, she was talking about all the work she's been doing on Upwork, and I said, oh, I had an Upwork profile, but I didn't really do too much with it. And she said, oh, connect me and we'll talk about it. So we had that conversation, and at the end of the conversation I said, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this information with me, and I don't want to just take. So as a give back, if there's something I could do to help you or promote you, or if I could do a couple of minutes of voiceover for your website, let me know what you'd like voiced, and I will send that to you and you can load it onto your website. Right? It's not just about get. It's got to be,
Right.
give and take. Give
Right.
first.
And see, there's something that people don't know. Even when you're doing podcasts, sure, you're connecting at least once with these people, you know, but if you stay connected, it's a good foot in the door. You can do more than just say, hey, I'd like to have you on my podcast. No, you can actually expand it and give something in return.
Exactly. Well, and initially, I think how you and I had connected was I am actually looking for some animators that I would like to trade voiceover with,
Hmm.
right? Because I would like to have a few samples on my website that are not just voice demos, but voice with picture,
Right.
right? And I have a little script that I've written, which someone could animate and I could voice, or if they have something, I would put the voices to theirs. That's what when we initially contacted, I thought, oh, he does animation. Let's see if that's a match or not.
Actually, I did a little cheat with mine because I cannot get paid animators to do anything. I actually took money out of my pocket to do storyboards and turned them into animatics.
Oh, good. Wow. Animatics. Is that a program?
No, animatics is just taking those stills, putting voice lines to them, and letting them go from scene to scene
Oh,
as necessary.
interesting. Oh, yes, that's right. I watched those actually on yours. That's right. They
Yes,
don't have the movement, they just got the pictures.
yes.
Yes, yes.
I still have those. I had to remove them from my YouTube in place of doing my podcast because
Yeah.
right now I really have not been able to work on my project Shadow Legacy because once again, when you're living on a fixed income, and you got to pull everything out of pocket, you got to try and focus on what's important at the time.
Yes, and in any creative thing, Matthew, right? There's this much money coming in, and you have to choose. Okay, I can do this right now, and then I'll do that later.
Hmm.
The pocket of money is just bigger or smaller, but it's kind of the same for a lot of people, right? It's like
Right.
how much can I work and still do my creative, right? To get that
Yes.
pool of money. But I get what you're saying also.
In my case, since I can't legally work, I can at least take all the time that I can to focus all my energy into writing screenplays and novels and different projects that
Exactly.
have a possibility of getting seen.
Exactly. Yes, great.
How do you approach character development and story arcs differently as a screenwriter compared to when you're acting?
Well, I think it's just the questions I'm asking. So when I'm a screenwriter, I'm asking, well, maybe it's the same actually. I'm asking, what would they do next and why would they do that as a screenwriter? And
Mhm.
as an actor, I'm asking, why do they do that? And what is the writer trying to get to? So
Yeah.
it's kind of the same process, but in reverse,
Mhm.
right? Or, the same but different, because I think, I'm always looking for the motivation underneath, because sometimes what you say is not actually the motivation.
Right.
Sometimes it's opposite and sometimes it's similar. So you have to figure out, like, what vein is this writer working in? I mean, if it's just a few lines, it's probably pretty basic. If it's a more in-depth character, then, what is the underlying thing that's causing this person to behave in this way?
For the character that I have for the customer is always right, I'm still trying to ask that question to myself because in reality, there's almost no motivation for the antagonist of the story because looking at the way people are in the real world that inspired the character, there is no rhyme or reason for what they do.
And are they just being mean to someone?
To put into context, the customer is always right is the Karen Organization of America versus the general manager of a box mart.
Okay. Very fun.
So, yeah. So when it comes to dealing with quote unquote Karens, there's no rhyme or reason to them. They just
Y- Yeah,
they just
there
pretty
can
much
be.
exist in their own little world.
I happen to I have a lot of Karens in my life who I love, so I feel so sad for the Karens. I actually know one Karen who changed her name because she was like, I don't want people to call me Karen now. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, but that's your name. Uh, but well, the box manager, that makes sense because he's got policy to hide behind and rules and his own stodginess probably, or
what
she.
what's even funnier is I gave the character because he's brought in by the big organization to try and solve the situations of each different location, but
Hmm.
he has a major anxiety disorder.
Oh, fantastic! So you know a lot about. You can get that right in there.
Yeah. Can you share any tips or advice for aspiring actors, screenwriters, and producers trying to break into the industry?
Be kind to yourself. That's the first. If you're an actor and you're trying to break in and you're still non-union or you are non-union, just get out there and do it. There's a book by Michael Shurtleff, which is, I think, out of print, but it's called Audition. And in the book, he suggests that you, in a year, go and do 100 auditions. I did that once. It was fantastic. I got a lot of parts. I got a lot of auditions. I did it really helped me work through that swirl feeling that we talked about, the fishbowl earlier,
Yeah.
to the point where it just became so normal. It's like, this is, and in fact, as an actor, you would like to think that what you do is act. And that might be true if you're Tina Fey or, Mindy, what's her name? Oh, it's gone from my brain right now. Anyways, your job is actually to audition.
Hmm.
And even when you become a more famous actor, you're still auditioning or you're reading things that people send you and choosing, which would be a really nice place to be. Yeah, so be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, realize that your agent is on your side. There's always, every actor I meet is like, oh, well, maybe my agent isn't submitting me. I can tell you 100% that my agent is submitting me today. And she submitted me yesterday and she'll submit me tomorrow. And I get what I get,
Yeah.
right? It's not your agent's fault. And it's not even the casting director's fault. Sometimes there'll be lots that fits for you, and you change as you go through your life. So that's for actors. For producers and writers, just keep doing it and putting it out there. Put it out there, put it out there, put it out there, be brave. And if you love it, just keep doing it. Somebody else will like it eventually.
Yeah. And of course, even screenwriters need agents.
Yes, yes. Well, you do and you don't. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. I
Really?
mean, lots of screenwriters have agents, and I know lots of screenwriters who have deals without agent. They just go to the producers directly. I have a couple of friends right now, they've got 2 movies in production. One of them has an agent and the other one doesn't.
With
You know
where?
what? Here, let me go back on that actually a little bit. It's nice if you have an agent because you have someone on your team and someone to talk to about what you're working on.
Mhm.
And just like acting, it's not just sitting on your laurels and waiting for your agent to do it for you,
Right.
because that's not how it works.
For someone like me, it'd probably be easier to have an agent. The reason why I say that is I live in like one of the worst states in the union for trying to get into anything. But I want
Mhm.
to set up my animation studio here. So I gotta have at least some way of making that connection.
Yeah. Fair enough. And or you just start and keep going. I don't know if you've ever heard of a series that was made up here in Canada called Corner Gas,
Mhm.
and it's made by a fellow named Brett Butt. He was a stand-up comedian and a bit of an actor. He's more of an actor now that he's done his series, but he actually bought the website name, and he wanted to do his show in this little wink of a town in Saskatchewan that,
Mhm.
there was really like a cow and a horse field there, and that's, maybe a gas station. Yeah. And he had found the spot, and he's from Saskatchewan, and he had this idea, and he carried around for 10 years developing it and getting it until it actually got made, and it had, I don't know, 5 or 6 seasons, and then a movie. So wherever you want to do it, you can
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it. You'll just find like-minded people who want to help you, and it'll happen just like one step at a time.
Yeah. It's just finding people around here. I mean, sure, we have in this state a group of directors, writers, and actors, but there's nothing in the way of animation other than what I've contracted.
Hmm.
So it's going to be an uphill battle for me regardless.
So you're looking for the actual people who would do the animation, is that right, Matthew?
Well, my first step is trying to pitch the project to people who'd be willing to finance it.
Yeah.
Because once I get the financing, then I can proceed.
Is there any government financing available in your state?
No,
Nothing, eh?
no.
Hmm. Maybe you just need some people who, will put in. I don't know what your budget is, but 5,000, 1,000 each, and however
Oh.
many of those people you need.
Well, I was looking at how much the average 30-minute episode costs, and it's about 400,000.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to do hour-long episodes.
Oh yes, yeah, it's expensive, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yes.
I it's a little bit different budget, but I had a friend who saw my play called Titillations, which is everything about the female breast. It is
Hmm.
exactly what it sounds like. And she loved the play, and the play sold out, and it did really well. And that theater company had a smaller budget, so we only had a week-long run. And she was like, a couple years later, why aren't you doing that play again? Why don't you do it for longer? All of these different things. And so I broke it down for her, and I took her through, this is what it costs for 5 actors and the stage manager and by the time we were done with 3 weeks of rehearsal, which is what Canadian Actors Equity requires, and a 2-week run, it was close to $70,000, and we hadn't sold a ticket yet.
Oh.
Right, so you would recoup a little bit because you would sell some tickets, but I said, it's very expensive.
Hmm.
It's not just like, oh, I'm going to skip over to the local community hall and put on a play. Once you're union, things cost a lot of money.
And of course, when it comes to creating your own work, I mean, just because you get a contract with someone like Netflix, Hulu, or whatnot, where they can help you recoup, you're not going to get a lot out of it.
That's right. And if you go in and you look at whatever movie you love,
Mhm.
look it up and see what it costs to make it, what was the budget for making it, and how much did it make at the box office. And then whatever's left is what people got paid out, like the big producers, right? After they paid all of the other expenses.
But of course, with streaming services now, not all movies are making it to the theaters because, with the way people are, they would rather watch it streaming than go to a theater, and only the big movies make it into theaters anymore.
Yep, that's right.
What's the one thing you wish you had known when you first started out as a multifaceted professional in the entertainment industry?
I wish that I had known, this sounds bad, but I'm going to say it anyway. I wish that I had known not to join the union too early.
Mm-hmm.
So I was an actor doing theater, and my very first film audition I booked as a Lucy on Rat Race, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yes.
So there's all these crazy Lucille Ball lookalikes. And initially we were special skills extra, but then there's a scene that didn't make it into the movie where we all chanted in unison. So that bumped us up to an actor credit. And it's immediately when you get an actor credit, the union starts asking you, do you want to join and whatnot? And I thought, well, I want to be a professional. I want to feel like a professional. So I joined. And what I didn't realize was as soon as you do that, of course, you cannot do any non-union work. You cannot do non-union theater. You cannot do non-union voiceover, which I hadn't even tried yet. So while I believe wholeheartedly in being a union member, I think you should wait until you have enough skills in all the things you want to try before you join, because once you join, it covers everything.
Right. It's like, eventually with my projects, I'm eventually going to end up in the DGA and the SAG-AFTRA.
The writers union? SAG-AFTRA,
yes, the writers.
Yeah. Yes, the writers union probably.
Yeah, the writers union. So
which would be the Writers Guild of America, I think. WGA.
Yes. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Alphabet network,
I know. And there's so many acronyms.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations and goals for the future in each of your roles?
Well, my ultimate goal, as I have told you, I have two acting ones actually. I would like to have a full, I would like to have a series regular role on an animated cartoon that goes for several seasons.
Yeah.
I would also like to have the opportunity to develop my own show like Tina Fey and 30 Rock, and be like showrunner and I guess part of the producing team, because the showrunner is part of the producing team, and writing, and get to act in it some also. Maybe not as much as Tina Fey at the beginning, but Mindy Kaling did that too, right? She was she became the showrunner on The Office, and then she was in some episodes. And I think at the beginning that's a good way to do it, where you're not in so many episodes that you're like too overtaxed. Right. But she really honed her writing chops doing that. So that's writing, that's the acting part. Writing, I would love for this feature film that I'm doing right now to take off and to get to play the roles in it. And writing in the future, I have a couple of other projects that I'm working on. One is a Canadian historical drama, which is very near and dear to my heart. I've written them already as theatrical scripts, which were produced through a different project, but I would like to turn it into a feature film. And then as a producer, I would like to do less producing unless I'm the showrunner. That's kind of where I am. I produce mostly because I want projects to happen.
Right.
So when I feel passionate about it, then I put on my producing hat and get to work. But if someone else wanted to do that producing, I would be happy to just be a creative producer rather than the executive producer or the.
And just like that, we've come to the end of today's engaging conversation. A sincere thank you to Yvette Dudley-Neuman for joining us and sharing her invaluable insights. Your expertise has truly enriched our discussion.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. It was my pleasure to be here.
If you're passionate about the creative arts and aspire to make your mark in the entertainment industry, don't forget to tune in for our monthly interviews with industry professionals. Each episode promises to enlighten and inspire, providing a glimpse into the extraordinary journeys of our guests. Before we part ways, I'd like to take a moment to share with some exciting news. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my two new novels, Virtual Requiem, Another Realm, and its highly anticipated sequel, Reunion's Betrayal. Keep an eye out for these gripping tales with more thrilling adventures on the horizon. Until we meet again, keep your eyes and ears open for more captivating conversations. Thank you for being a part of LPA Presents.
My pleasure. Thank you.